Hello everyone, how are you all doing? Good day, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. You're welcome to my channel. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for liking my videos. Thank you for watching, and I'm also glad that you've been learning one or two from it. Now, moving on to the business of today, we'll be cutting a flared dress. This is a singular flared dress. This is a triangular flared dress. You can also use the form of an A shape to get it if your material is not enough. I'll be using 2 yards of fabric. So let's move on to the drafting of this style. So first off, I fold my material into two, right side facing each other into a triangular form. After that, I measure 2 inches from the midpoint, the middle point of the dress, not the side, the middle point of the dress. Measure 2 inches for your button, allowance. Then you fold it under. Then after that, you measure your normal shoulder. Our normal shoulder is 15, which I am making use of, so I divided it by 2. Then I added extra 1 inch allowance. Then after that, I'll just measure the armhole. I'll just come down by 7.5 inches to get my armhole. Then after getting that 7.5 inches, I'll go down by 7.5 also to get the bust measurement. Our bust measurement is 34.5. I divided it by 4. Then I added extra 1 inch allowance. And after that, I just use my free hand to connect to the shoulder, and then I made my curve. So after making your curve, this is basically all you need to get to cut out the flare dress. So after that, I just measured again to make sure it is accurate. After getting the armhole, the shoulder, I'll just go ahead to measure the length of the dress. The length of the dress is 25. I made it of 25, then added extra 1 inch allowance for hemming allowance. So after getting every measurement accurate, I'll just go ahead to cut out the front side of the material. After cutting it out, I notch the button, the midpoint where the button hole will be. Just notch it so that you'll be sure of the place you'll be turning inside. After that, I'll just measure my neck. I did 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches to get the width and the breadth of my neck. Then I just make a curve, and then I cut it out. But if you're not sure of the person's neck, you could just use your tape rule to measure round the person's neck when taking the person's measurement. So if you're getting 15 as the person's round circumference of the person's neck, then you should know how to work with that. But for me, I like using my free hand, so I used 2.5, which was perfect on her neck. Now, to cut the back, also fold the fabric right side facing each other into 2. Then you place the front material on top of the back material. You just place it. Then I'll be leaving a split at the back of the dress. So because of that, I'll be leaving ½ inch by the midpoint of the material. When placing the front, you would see it. I'll just leave ½ inch by that side. I'll be using my hemming gum to hem it so that it will be neat. I'm not sewing anything. I'll just be hemming it with my hemming gum. So this is me placing the front side on top of the back. Then I just measure the midpoint, which is very accurate. It's ½ inch. Then I'll just go ahead to trace everything out. For the back side of the dress, I'll be doing 2.5 inches by 1 inch. 2.5 for the width and 1 inch for the breadth, as you can see in the video. Now the back side of the neck is not supposed to be low because this shirt is going to have a collar. Now to have that outstanding collar, this is how you cut your neck. It might be so small in your eyes, but when you add the collar, you will see that it is fitted well and it is laying well on your neck. Now after tracing it out, I make sure everything is accurate. I will just go ahead to give my shoulder slope. I would measure ½ inch. Then I will just I used 1 inch for the shoulder slope. Then I'll just go down by that 1 inch and then give that shoulder slope. My dress is ready, so I will take it to the machine. I would first off, before taking it to the machine, I will use my hemming gun to hem the midpoint of the front, which I am cutting out with the scissors, and also the ½ inch of the back, which is also the midpoint. But before that, let me cut out the sleeve of the shirt. The material wasn't enough. It was supposed to be a flare hand as well, but the material wasn't enough, so I am going to sew a straight hand instead with this material. So first of all, just fold the material into two. This is very simple. Trace after folding it into two, measure the arm or the round sleeve and the sleeve length, which is 22. Add extra 2 inches allowance for hemming allowance, and ½ inch for the sewing allowance, and then you measure your round sleeve. After that, you can go ahead to draft to cut it out. After cutting it out, I'll just measure again to be sure that my measurements are accurate. Then measure the length and then notch the extra inch for the hemming allowance, which I have done in the video. So after that, those are the fabric remaining, which I'll be using for the band and the collar of the dress. Now to cut the skirt, this is a very simple way. Majority of you already know how to cut a straight skirt. Now I'll be cutting a short skirt, and this is how I'll just quickly do it. I'll be fast forwarding this side because of the time frame of this video. So first of all, just fold my material into two, make sure everything is laying properly and well so that the measurements are accurate. Then after that, I'll measure my waist. Our waist is 32, divided it by 4. But before that, I usually measure the hip first. I'll divide it by 4, then add extra 2 inches allowance, and then if the ankara is still, the material is still remaining, I have to adjust it again. This is the one of the ways I manage fabric. So moving on to the skirt, I'll just measure the length of the skirt. Length of the skirt is 22 inches. Then I'll just add extra 2 inches for folding allowance, and after that, measure my hip, the waist. I said it earlier that 32, divided it by 4, extra, add extra 2 inches allowance, then extra 1 inch allowance for the darts. Then also measure the hip, which which is 36, added extra 2 inches allowance, and then I just went in by ½ inch at the end of the skirt. So I'm just going to remeasure again to be sure of everything. Then to get the dart, I'll just use a nipple to nipple measurement, which was 8, so I divided it by 2, which gave me 4, and then I'll just use my chalk to trace out that side and notch it. Then I'll just come down by 5 inches. Now the way the front is, same method goes to the back of the skirt. The only difference is that you'll be adding 2 inches allowance for the zipper allowance. So how do you get this? How to get this is to place the skirt, the front side of the skirt, on top of another material, then move it to the side just the way I am doing. Then you measure to the end of the side that is folded into two. You just measure like 1 inch or 2 inch, depending on how many allowance you want for the back. Then you measure that, and then you just trace everything out. You also notch where the dart is, and everything is accurate. The only difference is the zipper allowance. So after that, I'll just notch also the zipper side so that I would know where to sew out. Now moving on to the sewing of the dress, we're already done with the drafting of it. Now moving on to start sewing the dress, first of all you would sew the midpoint, which is where the button will be of the midpoint, the front side of the dress. You can either hem it or you sew it down. For this dress, I'll be hemming it because I want it to be neat. I do not want any trace of thread to show on it. So I'll take it to the machine, I will sew the darts, then I'll also bring it back to the table and then use my hemming gum to hem the back side of my top and also the front side of my top, which I am doing right now on the video. So before putting the hemming gum, I will use my iron to press the clothes down first, then I'll put my hemming gum just to make it neat and okay. As you can see, the fabric is looking all neat. I have gone ahead to add the hemming gum and to press it down. The fabric is looking all neat and okay. I do not necessarily have to sew it down because remember, when putting your buttonhole, you're actually attaching the fabric together. So even if the person doesn't iron the clothes always, it would not open. So after that, I will just take it to the machine. I will join the front with the back together, and then I'll join the shoulder, which I've already done before bringing it back to the table. So I joined the shoulder. I also joined the side. I did a inner stitching for the side, if you can see it in the video, and also for the shoulder, so that the inside of the shoulder, the inside of the dress rather, will be looking neat for those of us that do not have a whipping machine yet. Now for the back, I'll just go ahead to press it out first. After pressing it out, I'll now add the hemming gum, and this is basically all for the joining of the dress. I have joined the dress together, I have joined the skirt together, and I want to sew the band for the skirt and also the collar for the shirt. Now to get this, I have joined all the pieces of the fabric that are remaining for the shirt. So I just folded it into two, using my hand, using my eyes to like just gauge the measurement. But for you that you know you can't be accurate just like that, you can measure 3 inches for, or let's say 2.5 inches for your collar, then you're folding 1/2 inch in. So by the time you use the other 1/2 inch to join, it's already 2 inches for your collar, because by the time I did all of that, it was 2 inches already. Right here is the skirt band. I am using the added stay for this skirt band, which I'll be applying on just one side of the material. So I used 3.5 inches because by the time I fold in and sew on it, it's already 3 inch. I'm using 1/2 inch for the sewing allowance. So after applying the band on one side, I will just flip it over to the other side, and I will cut out the band. Be careful so that you don't cut your fabric. So this is like the added stay. Remember, this is the added stay. This is not the one I used for the collar. You can also use this for the collar, and you can also apply it on both sides depending on your choice. But I do not want mine to be too hard, so I'm just applying it on one side. Then after that, the face that I applied the stay on, that is the place I will be folding half of an inch inside. Then the other side that there is no stay, that is where I won't be folding. Now this is because the place I am folding inside will be what is at the front of the skirt to make it neat and okay, while the place that there is no stay will be at the back of the dress. So I have already gone ahead to fold it in and iron it. I'll just use my scissors because I used about 4 inches for this, so that's why I folded it in big. Though I'll just use my scissors to cut that side out, then also use my scissors to cut the other side half, which will later give me 2.5 in total. I have added stay on both the collar and the band of the skirt. I used the added stay for the collar and the soft add stay for the added stay for the skirt band and the soft add stay for the collar. After joining everything, I've traced it out, I've done the amendment and the rest which you saw. So I folded it, I bent it into two, then I use my scissors to notch the right side so that I would know where to start from. Then for the shirt of my dress, which you are also seeing in the video, I folded it into two, also use the scissors to notch the midpoint of it. So I place it, the side without a band, without a stay on it, right side facing wrong side. Then I sewed it down, brought it to the camera, showed you guys how I did it. Then this is how I will just join it again. I'm facing the right side, facing each other on the collar. I'll just take it to the machine. Then before taking it to the machine, I'll just use my scissors to slant it out. I do not want it to be straight, so I'll just make that free and curve on it. Then I'll take it to my machine and join it together, then bring it back to show you guys. After joining that side together, I will flip it over, then the wrong side will be facing each other. Then I will just place that right side on the material. Now this is the place without no band, and this is the front side without a band. After joining that end of the side end of the collar, I flipped it over, then I sewed it down. Just make a straight sewing to make it neat and okay. Now this is how it is looking. So I'll just use my iron to press it down to make it neat, and it is ready to wear already. And this is how my dress is looking. Isn't it looking neat, okay, and ready to wear? So I am going to create where I'll be creating my buttonholes. I'm going to use my chalk to just chalk down the places I'll be creating my buttonholes. Then after that, I'll look at the dress one more time and take it to the sewing machine to do the buttonholes. For my buttonholes, I'll be using the manual sewing machine. So I'll just mix the thread. I made use of black and white thread, and then I make sure the stitching is neat. So after creating the buttonholes, I will also take it to leave it on the mannequin, then use my blade to open up the buttonholes and tack the buttons, which I'll be showing you guys how to do on this place. So remember, when using blade, some people use scissors just to avoid cutting the other material, but when using blade, remember to be very careful so you do not cut the material, you do not tear it by mistake. And this particular material I am using is a very light and soft material, so I'm just going to pass it in gently, use my blade to cut it gently. Then I would, after cutting it, I would now use my chalk to write on the buttonhole so that I would know where my button would lay, and that's how I have been able to get the accurate place of where my button should be. I later realized I was not supposed to use a white thread for the button. Instead, I am supposed to use a black thread for it because it's a black button I am using on the shirt. But I was already done with the first set of buttons before I noticed that I was feeling too lazy to change it. I would just have to plead and explain to the person, I am sorry. So after the first set of the button, I used black thread to complete the rest of them. Now I'll just take it over to my sewing machine and I would hem the tip of the dress. Now to hem the tip of this dress, I would advise that when hemming a flay gown, flay skirt, flay shirt or anything, you do not hem it big. You hem it very tiny and very little so that your hemming can be neat, just like the way mine is. If you hem it big, it is not going to stay because it is cut in a round form, in a circular form. So you just hem it very tiny. Wanted to whip it, but was having issues with lights. NEPA no grade give us lights, so I had to hem it. Now this is the final product of the shirt. This is how it is looking. This is how everything is looking. Isn't it looking beautiful? Don't you like it? Please, if you like it, do not forget to like this video. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on your post notification bell. And also do not forget to leave your comments, ask any question, and I'll answer. See you in my next video. Bye bye.